Hey, what's up guys, Zeus Module here, and welcome to the first video of the ARMA3 Zeus tutorial mini-series on my channel. Zeus has just been released a bit more than a week ago, and also for me it's pretty hard to find information on how to use it exactly. Nevertheless, and because it's a great tool, I decided to make a small series of tutorials which should teach you guys the basic functionality of Zeus and help you using Zeus yourself rather than getting frustrated because there's almost no written information available online. Zeus is an official DLC of ARMA3, you don't have to buy it or download it specifically. This has happened already via stable branch Steam update on the 10th of April. In this first video I'm going to show you how to quickly enable Zeus and how to use the user interface and the controls. I highly recommend you use the time reference chapter selection from the description below for easier navigation to the topics covered in this video. Already, thanks a lot for watching, let's get started. To get you started with Zeus, I advise you to check out the following things which are already prepared for you in the game. Zeus comes with a set of specific controls. Go into your configure, controls, then key bindings show Zeus, and here you can find a bunch of controls which are used while operating as Zeus. You can remap all of the Zeus functions to other key bindings as you see fit. Also very helpful is the field manual, accessible via main menu or at any time during the game. Open it, select Zeus and then the category of which you want to learn more about. Here you will get explanations about key bindings and how to manipulate the scenario as Zeus. To get a first glimpse at the Zeus interface, I advise you to play the showcase. It's a very short and brief introduction of the Zeus interface and some of its functions, but I'd say it's better than nothing. The last tip I got for you is starting a locally hosted multiplayer session and test out one of BIS's official Zeus missions. There are multiple scenarios available for Stratus and Altis, which you can start up all by yourself and test or practice some more of the Zeus functions. And obviously, once you're settled, play them with your friends. Enabling Zeus for any mission without fancy stuff is done pretty quickly. Go into your mission editor, this can be the single player or the multiplayer mission editor, and create a character. Select F1 character, select any kind of unit, in multiplayer make it playable, to create a player slot, in single player make it the player. You can write a description which will in the multiplayer lobby appear as the slot name, but more important is the name of this unit, in this case Zeus. But you can choose whatever name you want. Once that is done, select F7 and create a module. Select category Zeus and then module Game Master. Game Master is the most important, like the core module of Zeus. Now you will have to assign the Game Master module to a Zeus by writing the name of the unit you put in before into the owner's box. In this example, Zeus. Continuing with enabling add-ons, it says default add-ons here, all official add-ons. This means the game will automatically search for installed add-ons, also user-made content that you have downloaded individually. It will scan for that, and if those the add-ons are configured properly with factions and whatnot, they will appear in Zeus and you will be able to place them and interact with them. Alternatively, you can change the selection of this drop-down box to add-ons present in this scenario, which will limit the selection of entities available to Zeus to content that has already been placed previously in the mission editor. The next drop-down box will set you the force interface, meaning if your Zeus is supposed to be constantly in the Zeus interface, you can force him to do so here, but if you want him to operate as a normal character and just usually go into Zeus, make sure to set that to deactivated. Those few steps are already enough to enable Zeus for a mission where you can practice the functions or just fool around a bit and have fun. In the mission I have here, I'm not forced to use the Zeus interface, but I can toggle into Zeus mode at any time via the key binding preset in the game options. In addition to that, I have set the Game Master module in the editor to all official add-ons, meaning this Zeus right here has full access to all the content available in the game really, meaning he can create units like infantry, vehicle, aircrafts. He can create groups and spawn entire groups at the same time. You can use the Zeus modules and also place markers. So this is what I consider to be full God mode because you have access to the entire game. As I showed you before, there's basically two variants of Zeus. The first one is the one where the user interface is not forced. In this case, you spawn into the mission as a normal player, as a playable unit. You can walk around and do your soldier thing and enable the Game Master function, so opening the Zeus interface at any time you want. The downside of this is that you as an actual character in the game are going to be vulnerable to enemies, Meaning if you're not careful and you place your character somewhere in a hostile area and go into Zeus mode, maybe move away from the AO with the camera, you still have your character remaining on that spot. And he can get killed, and if you don't have respawn activated, the mission will be over for you really. In the other variant of enabling Zeus, where you spawn directly into the forced interface from the game lobby, you do not have an actual character on the ground. So this lets you really focus on creating the mission on the fly. You don't have to worry about the character standing around somewhere and being vulnerable to enemies. And if you're bored and want to be part of the action, you can still occasionally remote control a unit you have placed via Zeus and have some fun with that. More to this topic in the next video. In either variant of using Zeus, the position of the camera will be indicated for other players with an eagle flying around. So when you are in a Zeus mission as player, scan the airspace above you from time to time, and should you detect an eagle circling around, it means that Zeus is watching you. The eagle's position is locked to the camera and not to where the player might be standing. So even if my character is standing back at that airfield and the camera is here at the village, the eagle will appear where the camera is and not where the character is parked. Alright, it's time to take a closer look at the Zeus UI, meaning user interface. On the left side of the screen you have the edit part. Here everything you have already created with Zeus in this particular mission will be listed. It's a full list of all the playable and also not playable objects that have been created with Zeus in this mission, and it's mainly used to quickly navigate through or interact with certain entities in the mission. The edit section of the Zeus UI can be toggled on and off with the E key on your keyboard. On the right side of the UI you can find the create section. This section is used to browse through and select entities you want to place in the mission. Single units are separated by factions as well as empty objects or empty vehicles and whatnot. You can also select groups and place full groups, also separated by the faction, or under empty groups you can find compositions, a base template for example. The Zeus modules are where the most fun for Zeus comes in the game, because this is the section where you create respawns for example, or air support. These Zeus functions will be covered detailed in the next tutorial video. Last but not least is marker creation. As Zeus you can select from a large list of markers and place them in the mission to give the players points of reference. Depending on the scenario, Zeus might have limited access on the create section. The create section of the Zeus UI can be toggled on and off with the R key on your keyboard. In the top center you can find the compass bar. Also this can be toggled on and off with the K key on your keyboard. Right below the compass you can find the clock bar, which can be toggled on and off with the O key on your keyboard. By using those four keys you can toggle off the four individual sections of the UI, while backspace disables the whole thing at once. In this example mission here, the top bar is entirely black. Depending on the scenario, this bar might be full or partly orange. The orange section will be indicating Zeus's available resources. Zeus will use up resources by placing objects in the mission or providing artillery or cast support as an example. Also depending on the scenario, this bar will be refilled when the ground team completes tasks successfully. Again, in this mission here I have full God mode, so no limited resources or limited selection of entities. Whenever being active as Zeus at nighttime, you can alternatively enable night vision to get better eyes on things. When using the J key, the Zeus UI will be replaced with somewhat of the default map overlay but without the map, meaning you have access to tasks, breathing, and all kind of other information. Here you can check the available tasks and their status. While using the map as Zeus, the default button for toggling off the textures on the map are not available. Press T on your keyboard to toggle them on and off. Every player in a Zeus enabled scenario has the option to ping Zeus to get his attention. Do so by clicking your preset key for the Zeus interface. The Zeus logo, the eye, will be displayed in the center of the screen, and you also hear an acoustical signal. This is what happens from Zeus's perspective when the player pings him. Let's continue with the camera controls. Those controls are very similar, if not identical, with the ARMA3 inbuilt camera tool or spectator mode. So should you already be familiar with those two tools of ARMA3, you won't have problems handling the camera in Zeus either. Moving the camera forward, backwards or sideways is done with W, S, A and D keys, as if you were controlling a unit as player. To move the camera faster in either direction, press and hold Shift in addition to the other key. Use the Q button to move the camera upwards, or the Z button to move it downwards, respectively Y on the European keyboard. To rotate the camera, hold the right mouse button and move your mouse. Of course, it's also possible to use multiple of those controls at the same time. For example, forward, upward and rotating. As Zeus, you can at any time toggle into the first person view of any unit that is created via Zeus. Simply mark the unit in the edit section or directly click on it with the left mouse button via the Zeus view and then press enter on your pad to get into the unit's view. This lets you observe what the current unit is actually seeing or doing, but you're not able to control it or look around. However, it is possible to give the unit new waypoints or attack orders within its field of view. Another feature of the Zeus UI is saving and reloading camera positions. Save your current camera position by pressing Ctrl and F1 to F12. Successfully saving a camera position will be indicated by a bright flash of the screen. To reload a previously saved camera position at any time during the mission, simply press the respective F1 to F12 key. To rapidly move the camera to a desired unit, select it from the edit section of the UI or click on it via left mouse button in the view directly. Then hit F to reroute the camera to this unit's position. While this function is useful for stationary units, it's not suited for moving ones. To track a moving unit, do the same thing as before, but instead of just hitting F, press Ctrl and F. This will make the camera track the unit. Even though the camera now follows the unit, it will not actually change its own position. So to follow fast moving units, you will also have to use the W, S, A and D keys in addition to tracking mode. Another way to quickly change the Zeus camera's position is map teleporting. Open the map via M key, move the cursor where you want to place the camera and use the middle mouse button. If you don't have one, remap the key in the control settings. In this chapter I'm going to show you how to create and edit units. Let's start with single units first. Click on the single units icon in the create section. Select site Blue 4, Op 4, Independent, Civilian or Empty. Choose the faction of which you want to spawn something of and then open the category via drop down. Choose the unit type you want to spawn and click on the desired spawn position in the environment. To spawn multiple units of the same type, press and hold Ctrl while clicking in the environment. Units of the same faction that are placed close to each other will automatically be connected to a group. That's exactly as it happens in the 2D mission editor too. Alternatively, you can mark a single or multiple units and press Ctrl C, Ctrl V to copy and paste them inside the mission. If you want to create empty vehicles to generate transport for the players, or ammo boxes as rearming points, search them under the empty side. Once units are placed in the environment, you can easily drag and drop them to another location to get the parking position just right for your needs. You can also rotate the object by clicking on it with the left mouse button, holding shift until the object is facing the direction you want it to. Those controls are very important to place a unit just right for your mission. As an example here, a unit standing inside a building behind the window facing outwards. It is also possible to change a unit's altitude above ground. As example, a marksman in a multi-story building. First, drag and drop the unit inside the building, then hold left mouse button, press and hold Alt, and then increase the unit's altitude above ground by pushing the mouse forward. Spawning an aircraft in mid-flight is not possible. You can place it wherever you want on the ground and then change its altitude above ground as I just showed you before. This will immediately put the aircraft in flight mode, meaning a jet will start circling until you give it another waypoint and the helicopter will just hover on its spot. To remove entities from a mission, simply mark them and press delete on your keyboard to remove them. Alternatively, you can use the end key after the unit is marked to set its health to 0. An infantry unit will die while a vehicle will explode. There's multiple ways to select units to interact with them. You can either hold Ctrl and then click on the units individually, or you can do the same thing via the edit section on the UI. Hold Ctrl and mark the units in the edit section there. You can also hold the left mouse button and drag a frame over multiple units to mark all of them and drag them around or delete them. Most of those controls can also be used while in the Zeus map view. You can mark units, move them around, rotate them, but obviously placing them on a higher altitude does not work. Instead of placing every single unit individually, you can also spawn groups. Select groups in the create section of the UI. Then choose the side and the faction of which you want to spawn a group from, and use the drop down menu to select the group type. As example, I combined the armor platoon of Blue 4, including 2 slammer tanks as well as 2 cheetah tracked AA vehicles. Now you can still modify the group's content by adding or deleting individual vehicles. Let's say I want to have an additional MBT in this group. I go again to the single units in the create section, select Blue 4, NATO and spawn an empty slammer tank. To add that single tank to the existing group now, I press and hold left mouse button on the unit and drag a line to the group leader. To disconnect a unit from a group, I do the same thing by dragging the line somewhere away from the group and the group leader and simply release the left mouse button. Grouped vehicles and units are indicated by those light blue lines connecting all the members of a group. It is also possible to group or ungroup units via the map, and the controls are the exact same as in the Zeus camera. Group units will also be indicated as such in the edit section of the UI. On the left side here you see a group, one guy has been removed. If I re-add him to the group, he is going to be included again. The group menu in the create section can be used to spawn so-called compositions. They are predefined and already arranged sets of empty objects which will let you quickly spawn compounds to enhance your missions. So far there's only a few guerrilla camps, military bases as well as checkpoints available, but I'm pretty sure more will be added in the future, or at some point we might be able to create collections ourselves and save them for a future mission, or even share them via Steam Workshop. Another, in my opinion, very important aspect of scenario editing is giving units waypoints. It would not always be necessary. You can also place units down and just wait for them to react to nearby enemies. But if you want the scenario to become more alive, as example having units patrolling an area or vehicle patrols and similar things, you definitely have to use waypoints. To create waypoints for a specific unit or group, mark the desired unit by clicking on it or using the edit section on the left side of your UI. Then click with the right mouse button in the environment and a simple move to waypoint will be created. To create waypoint patterns, press and hold Ctrl while clicking with the right mouse button in the environment to create a series of waypoints. Once your pattern is set up, you can, in addition to Ctrl, also hold down Alt and right mouse button to give the unit or group a cycle waypoint, which will make it repeat the pattern until told otherwise or engaged by enemies. For better visualization, you can also use the map to do the exact same thing. To delete a or multiple waypoints, select them via the edit section or place the cursor over them in the camera and press delete. Waypoints or waypoint patterns will be added to the unit or group in the edit section. This way you can easily identify the connected group to a waypoint. If you want to order a unit or group to get into a vehicle, highlight it and then right click on the vehicle's Zeus icon. Once the unit has boarded the vehicle, it will complete further given waypoints with this particular vehicle. If I would give this pilot a new waypoint now, it will no longer go on foot but fly. To order a unit to get out of a vehicle, I can highlight it, press G on the keyboard and the unit will disembark. An alternative way of getting units in and out of vehicles is the drag and drop method. In that case, I place the cursor over a unit, press and hold the left mouse button to grab it, and then just place it over the vehicle. To drag a unit out of a vehicle, it works the same way. The last waypoint type currently available is attack orders. Highlight the unit, place your cursor over the unit you want it to engage, and see how the green move waypoint cursor changes into a red attack one. Click the right mouse button to have the selected unit auto-engaging your desired target. Those are currently the only waypoints available in Zeus, but as I hear BIS is already working on additional ones, which are currently tested in Dev branch and are going to be released to Stable branch in the next update. Setting up attributes for waypoints will be covered in the next chapter of this tutorial. Setting attributes lets you define parameters for all units, groups, waypoints and markers placed with Zeus. When double-clicking the left mouse button on a unit, the attributes window will pop up. You can then define rank, set it stands to prone, crouched, standing up or automatic, or change the unit's health or skill level with the adjustable bars. Defining this unit as a respawn point for players is also possible. Highlight the respective icon to make it a respawn point for Blue 4 independent or civilian units. Using an Op4 unit as a Blue 4 respawn is obviously not possible. That's why in this example, Op4 respawn is not available. To disable a unit's functionality as respawn point, highlight the None icon. The execute box at the bottom of this window lets you enable script codes on specific units. It works the same way as the initialization field in the mission editor. Previously typed and used codes will be saved to make them available quickly for redeployment on other units. Double-clicking on empty vehicle will again bring up a pop-up window with other parameters to set. Define the health and fuel state of the vehicle and lock or unlock it to change accessibility by players. It's possible to enable vehicle respawn on this unit if you have a predefined respawn position prepared on the map. You can also set the vehicle to respawn at current location or disable respawn completely. As before with the single infantry unit, Also, vehicles can be used as player respawns. Again, you have to set the vehicle as spawn position for Blue 4, Op 4, Independence or Civilian. An execute box for use of script codes is also available. Attributes can not only be set on units, but also waypoints. Double click on a waypoint directly or use the editing section of the UI. Here you can set the unit or group's behavior, which will be applied while the unit moves to the waypoint. Set it to a relaxed, aware, combat or stealth to predefine the type of behavior, or leave it to no change to have the units react appropriately to each situation. Whenever the waypoint is connected to a group or not a single unit, you can also predefine the formation you want them to use. To bring up the group-specific waypoint attributes, double-click on the group icon or use the edit section in the UI. Here, a group call sign as well as stand selection can be determined in addition to combat mode and formation. Attributes can also be set for markers. Select the marker tab from the list and place it somewhere in the environment or on the map. Double-click on it to bring up the attributes window. You can now write something in the text box, for example LC alpha, as well as change the marker's color. As already mentioned in this tutorial, everything you place in the editor is listed in the edit section of your UI. It's a lot easier to double-click on a unit in the list on the edit section rather than trying to click on a moving helicopter with the camera. You can open the attributes windows for waypoints, groups, single units, as well as markers from the edit section. Alright people, this concludes the first part of my mini-series about the Zeus DLC freshly released for ARMA 3. I'm certainly aware of the fact that this tutorial was very basic, and quite a few of you are probably way further ahead with their own skills when it comes to Zeus. But making tutorial videos for the ARMA series for a while, I do know for a fact that the majority of people does not spend a lot of time on trying things out themselves in the editor rather than asking someone else. That's why I decided to do this mini-series and really start at the very basics, so that everyone gets a chance to see the functionality and not just read about it in a manual maybe. Being able to see the functionalities of this tool will hopefully encourage people to actually use it, because it is a great thing. I'm not specially advertising for BIS now. People who have been watching my videos for a while know that I get pretty critical when it comes to official BIS content, but I'm really a big fan of Zeus and I definitely advise everyone to give it a try. Either way, thanks a lot for watching this first tutorial. In the second video I will be showing you the Zeus modules, not the ones in the editor but the ones here from the user interface. And in the third one I'm going to focus more on mission editing with implementing Zeus. In the fourth video I have planned, I'm going to focus on the Curate the Presets mod, a user-made modification for Zeus in ARMA 3. This mod adds some extra functionality. It is already released, it has already a few functions, and as I hear, community developers are still working on it and will release additional functions in the future. That's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up, check out my channel and subscribe for more. I'm Zeus Module and I see you soon. Enabling Zeus for any mission without fancy stuff is done pretty quickly. Go into your mission editor, this can be the single player or the multiplayer mission editor, and create a character. Select F1 character, select any kind of unit. In multiplayer make it playable, to create a player slot. In single player make it the player. You can write a description which will in the multiplayer lobby appear as the slot name, but more important is the name of this unit, in this case Zeus. But you can choose whatever name you want. Once that is done, select F7 and create a module. Select category Zeus and then module, which should teach you guys the basic functionality of Zeus and help you using Zeus yourself rather than getting frustrated because there's almost no written information available online. Zeus is an official DLC of ARMA 3, you don't have to buy it or download it specifically. This has happened already via Stable Branch Steam update on the 10th of April. In this first video I'm going to show you how to quickly enable Zeus and how to use the user interface and the controls. I highly recommend you use the time reference chapter selection from the description below for easier navigation to the topics covered in this video. Already, thanks a lot for watching, let's get started. To get you started with Zeus, I advise you to check out the following things which are already prepared for you in the game. Zeus comes with a set of specific controls. Go into your configure, controls, Then key bindings show Zeus, and here you can find a bunch of controls which are used while operating as Zeus. You can remap all of the Zeus functions to other key bindings as you see fit. Also very helpful is the field manual, accessible via main menu or at any time during the game. Open it, select Zeus, and then the category. Hey, what's up guys, Zeus Module here, and welcome to the first video of the ARMA3 Zeus tutorial mini-series on my channel. Zeus has just been released a bit more than a week ago, and also for me it's pretty hard to find information on how to use it exactly. Nevertheless, and because it's a great tool, I decided to make a small series of tutorials of which you want to learn more about. Here you will get explanations about key bindings and how to manipulate the scenario as Zeus. To get a first glimpse at the Zeus interface, I advise you to play the showcase. It's a very short and brief introduction of the Zeus interface and some of its functions, but I'd say it's better than nothing. The last tip I got for you is starting a locally hosted multiplayer session and test out one of BIS's official Zeus missions. There are multiple scenarios available for Stratus and Altis, which you can start up all by yourself and test or practice some more of the Zeus functions. And obviously, once you're settled, play them with your friends.